You can do that by clicking the three dots at the bottom of your
Yeah,
screen,
I see,
and
I
you
see.
click Apply Visual Effects, and then you can go into the effects and add one. But it only works whenever you have your camera on, so.
My camera's working. That's crazy.
Woo!
That's crazy. Oh, it's 2. I'll probably start the thing. Okay,
You look lost in thought, Jensen.
Someone, do you want to just join from your phone for camera?
I think my camera's good now, right? Can you guys see fine?
Yeah, I'm getting
Yeah, you're fine.
smooth.
Right.
Yeah, you're fine.
I'm just gonna go ahead and go live then.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess.
Yeah, we're live.
We could stay muted. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I believe we are live now.
That's what we're gonna go with.
Oh yeah, I'm getting response in chat that we are live.
Alright.
Okay, yeah, so hello everyone, welcome to Z.I.P Talks. So, Z.I.P Talks is a session that we, Team Z.I.P Ties, are going to do with different FTC teams so that we can learn more from them and learn all about their experiences in FTC. So today we have Team 4717 Mechromancers from Haggerty High School, and they're going to talk to us a bit about their strategy in the offseason and how they're going to prepare for the power play season. So you guys can go introduce yourself and your team real quick.
So hi, I'm Jensen. Most of the stuff I do on the team is hardware, strategy, outreach, and communication. A lot of stuff with reaching out to other people, and a lot of stuff with making sure that our team functions properly and can communicate between different committees. Yeah, for Tom, you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm Tom. I do a lot of software and hardware on the team, as well as technical writing. And I do a lot of outreach as well.
I'm Tyler. I'm a new member to the 4717 team, and I plan on doing a lot of hardware stuff and helping out with software.
Yeah. You guys want to talk a bit about like your team stuff?
So yeah, our team is based out of Haggerty High School. Team 4717, the Mechromancers. We've been around since 2011. We've have a fair amount of experience. Most of our team members this year are juniors and seniors, with I believe 2 sophomores. And the way that we do robotics at Haggerty, we have we have 2 teams. We have Team 4717, the Mechromancers, and we have Team 4227, Metamorphosis. So Team 4227 is we use that team as a learning opportunity to make sure that when members do come to 4717, they have a basic introduction to skills and know what they're doing, which makes it a lot easier. So that way, between the preseason and the actual season start, we don't have to go through and teach a whole bunch of new members all these skills. Although it is nice to get a refresher.
Alright, yeah, so that kind of leads us into like our first topic. So why do you guys actually why should teams work in the off season? Like, how can they help and learn from that?
In the off season, it's important to do like a lot of say outreach and teaching the younger members, because it helps groom the next generation of students that are going to be on our team eventually. So for example, last year there was a couple people like Tyler, for example, who was on Team 4227, and then over the year and the summer, we mentored those students, and now he's on our team and ready to help us. In addition, we do a lot of outreach over this break, because this is the time where there's no you don't have pressure from the season, the competition season, and you can really do anything that you want.
Yeah, so like Tom was saying, we do a lot of outreach over the summer. So this year we've hosted a couple summer camps. We have our recruitment camp, and then our youth summer camp, where we use a similar project to what you do in FLL. And this is all just that way we can make sure that STEM and FIRST is spread in our community, and that we're making an impact, and that we actually are growing our program. It's all part of our cycle of growth.
Yeah. Another thing I want to mention is over summer we did this another robotics competition it's called Roboboat. It's a collegiate level competition. We were like one of the only high schools competing, and it's an international competition too. So people from Indonesia and I don't know, like Poland, those people from those countries were competing, and yeah, we did that over summer. It helped us a lot in gaining experience both hardware-wise and software-wise.
Yeah, that was a lot of help to make it so we could actually apply what we learn, during the season, like in actual real-world situations. So it's really just another way of applying what we've learned.
So you said you guys did Robo. Would you say it helped you guys like sort of expand your knowledge about what you guys can really apply in the real world, as well as open up your contacts so you can start planning more outreach events, like even next season with these teams?
Yeah, I think Robo is a great opportunity to learn. A lot of like CAD was done, obviously, and it was done in a short amount of time, so it helped us get faster at doing CAD. And then on the software end of things, it's a lot harder than what we do in FTC, because I guess it's more like we have to do a lot more computer vision and tracking and stuff in the sun, which was difficult. And we had a lot of issues, obviously, but we were able to do pretty well on that end. And it helped us learn a lot. And about the contacts thing, so we met a lot of people, obviously, like a lot of big people, and now we can just go to them, and if we want to present to them, we're able to.
So I know that we've been stepping out of COVID, but when you guys were in COVID, how did you guys manage to do outreach events, especially in your off season, online or virtually?
There's a lot of meetings with we had a meeting with like a NASA scientist at one point, and we did that over Zoom virtually. And then what other meetings do we have, Tom?
So we met with like 11 different professionals all online. So we were able to meet with material scientists to talk about, like last year we had these carbon fiber side plates. So we were able to talk about the structure and the integrity of those side plates with him. We met with a bunch of different professionals at NASA and professors at UCF, etc. So that's where a lot of our outreach came in. During like the main COVID year, a couple years ago, 2 years ago, we have like this FLO program at Haggerty, where we mentor up to 40 kids, FLO students, and we actually hosted like WebEx meetings every Tuesdays and Fridays for them to join, and they would get a kit and stuff. So that's where a lot of our outreach came in. Yeah, and then we just hosted STEM nights at local middle schools and high schools. So yeah.
Yeah. So like touching back on like kind of like the robot aspect of it, right? How are you guys able to like learn more skills and like kind of get like better as a team through like the off season?
A big thing of what we do to get better to like actually during the season and prepare over the preseason is a lot of CAD and practicing CAD. So I know before my first season coming in, our team had just switched from PTC Creo to PTC Onshape. So I was as a kid that didn't have any experience with CADing, that's what they taught me. They were trying to make it so that way it would be easy for someone, no matter what skill level, even if they started off new or even if they had experience with Creo, they wanted to make sure that they were able to properly teach people how to CAD and what the basic understandings were required to do that. So yeah, a lot of CAD. And that's really from the hardware point of view. So what we did in previous seasons was more like last season we designed a Mecanum drivetrain, and then we tested it and we went with a completely different option. But it's all just testing and prototyping before the season starts.
So yeah, so you guys are like speaking of off season, especially with your new members. You guys start you trying new things like new CAD, new building techniques. So when you have new team members from Metamorphosis coming into Mechro, do you guys try and have them adapt to anything, or is like the team structure so similar between both that during the off season you guys just need to teach them a couple new FTC skills?
So this year, compared to last year we had a lot of people who were more, better at graphic stuff than like graphic design and stuff rather than robot stuff. This year we have a lot of people that know how to do robot stuff. So because of the mentoring that we were able to give them the past year, and the fact that they were able to compete as rookies, and so this year I guess it's more of a goal to teach them about like the graphic design and notebook stuff and portfolio stuff and making like a good looking portfolio and like one that that the judges like basically. So.
Yeah, so like you were talking about like your mechanic drivetrain like last year, right? So one really cool thing that your robot had last year was like your kind of tricycle design. So like how was that like design? Did that come from like an off-season idea? Like how did you guys come up with that design?
Actually, our original off-season idea was to create a mechanic drivetrain, and we implemented that until like the season was announced. And then what we noticed is when you look at the game manual, you can see a top point of view of where all the different challenges or tasks that you have to do are located. What we noticed is all the stuff that you have to do, it was just making this continuous arc back and forth. And we were like, well, if we don't need to have a mechanic drivetrain, we can limit the amount of motors we use, which makes our robot lighter, which can make our robot faster. So we figured, why would we need so many motors when we're just making this arc back and forth? So we figured with a front pivoting wheel, it makes it a lot easier to just go back and forth. So yeah, in short, that decision really came from the season being announced and actually like just looking at the field and just doing slight drawings and just figuring out what the cycle process would be from start to finish.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask, so you guys said that you had this Mechanic drivetrain developed in the off-season. How much did it take for you guys to switch into this completely new drivetrain? Because I know y'all didn't implement the Mechanic drivetrain at all that season. So how much time and effort did it take for you guys to completely switch your design from what you guys have worked throughout the off-season?
It was about like 3-4 weeks, I think, for us to completely switch from the mechanic drivetrain to the tricycle design. So it all started off with just a basic idea, and we built it out of some pretty basic wood. And then the entire process of CADing that drivetrain took forever. I think we still kept the same drivetrain that we had at like meet 1 or 2 that we had at Worlds, because it took so long to CAD that thing, and we did it pretty well the first time.
Yeah.
You guys did have to reprint it once though.
No, so we had 2 designs. We printed those in the same week. The real thing was the first design, I think it was a bit too big, and we figured, yeah, we can make that a bit smaller. So it was literally just like a week or 2 that we went from the first to second design iterations, and we went with the same drive base at Meet 1 that we had at Worlds. So
yeah, and obviously during the CAD phase, we had to do a lot of revisioning. A lot of different people were looking at the CAD and making sure what the issues could possibly be. So like for example, there was an issue even on that first drivetrain we made, where like we forgot to add a space for like the motors, which is something really simple. And so we just used a Dremel and then cut out a little circle. So, and then for the rest of the season, we just continued to use that drivetrain. And it proved to be reliable, and it was just one piece, monolithic piece. So that was like, obviously when we look, at the beginning of the season, we look at like especially if you're going for Inspire Award, let's say, you want it to be like innovative, especially for the Innovative Award and Design Award. So that's where we kind of base a lot of our things off of.
Like the 3 most crucial build and like robot skills you really want the rookie members to learn and make sure they get right. Because I know that there are so many little things that can go wrong when building things, whether it's stripping screws or unaligning holes and trying to bend things into place, which is obviously not the right thing to do. So what are the 3 things that you guys as a team would recommend rookies in the offseason to learn?
So personally, I'd say obviously to start off, number one would be just knowing your outer mentors, like which ones you know, like you know which ones to use and stuff, and knowing how to use them. Number two would be like when you're is CAD, learning CAD, because that can be a really helpful skill. Just like even when like the main builder is busy doing something, you can just go ahead and on the side and make a phone mount or something, or camera mount. And then on number three, I'd say is learning how to like make parts with structural integrity, because you don't want to have something break in the middle of a match. So, like for the robot wise and hardware wise, those are three things I think are important. I don't know. What about you guys?
I'd say, in all reality, I wouldn't say it's as much like skills that you need to learn aren't really like hardware-wise. I'd say it's more concept-wise, like making sure you always have like a pre-plan before you start building something. Because yeah, if you build something, it's great, but what happens if you change something and then you have to change the entire thing? So having a pre-plan of what you want the robot to look like and making it modular so that way you can easily take stuff off and change it out. Another thing is make sure you have a goal that everyone's working towards, because that's something that's really important. Is if you have a goal that all the members in your team are working towards, then you know what your robots should look like, and you should have certain like times that you're going to work on that. Another thing is staying organized. Staying organized is very helpful. I know there are a couple times last year where I literally just stopped what I was doing, grabbed a couple of our organizing boxes, and just started organizing screws because I could not find a thing. So having an organized workspace is very important.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, you're like talking about like communicating with one another. Would you say, especially with other aspects of FPC, like the business, the outreach, the programming, would you say necessarily in the off season, communication is like a big thing on how your team like structures and how your team works in the off season?
Yeah, I'd say communication is, especially during the off season, is very important, because it just makes sure that you're more cohesive when the season does start, and to make sure that you guys are planning ahead and properly going through the steps to set up outreach events and talk to other teams, like in this situation, and also and really just hammer down the idea that you're a team, because when you start off as a team, especially on a new year where we have new members, it's a bit different from previous years, because you haven't worked with some of these people before, and it's really just a getting to know you situation, and you can also make sure that people properly know what they're doing. So it's really just setting the base work and the groundwork for what the season is going to be. So if you start the season off in the preseason with really bad communication and talking, the rest of the season's not going to be good.
Yeah, even outside of robotics, it's important to like befriend the people on your team, because if you guys can be like close as friends, then like it's easier to communicate between. Our team went bowling and stuff and play basketball and stuff. So building like that chemistry is important.
Yeah, so like moving on to like kind of something related to robot, which is the programming. So how do you guys like kind of advance like programming wise? Like, cause without like a solid robot, like it's hard to test a lot of code. So how do you guys work on your programming skills over the off season?
So in the off season, like I talked about earlier, we did the robo thing. So like that helped me a lot, learn a lot about like computer vision, and now I can transfer a lot of that stuff to FTC, like a lot of the math formulas I derived and stuff. During the season, however, like say you don't have a robot, like you're still building a robot for the meet one. During those few weeks, every year there's there's this thing where you have to track an object or something, or use computer vision. So we do that in the first few weeks while the hardware team is building, and then the hardware team tries to finish like 2 weeks before competition. But normally it becomes like a couple days before competition, and then we have to do auto in a couple days. But those few days we we have everything set up like so that we can just go and make sure our auto works.
Yeah, so like recently there've been a lot of like FTC simulators popping up. Do you guys like use any of those, or like what?
I personally haven't used any of those things, but also to add, we do like we do make sure they know where to begin as well.
Yeah. So far we've been focusing so I would say that like programming, besides just like using virtual simulators and testing over and over again, do you guys have or there's some or do you guys like go on I know GitLab, especially I forget what it's called, the FTC forum. Rookie members sometimes might have troubles and sometimes you guys don't have the answer to that. So would you say like with the FTC forum, especially with programming and hardware, are you guys able to use that as a source of as like a resource in the off season?
So programming wise, I really haven't like personally I haven't used the FCC forums. A lot of it's just like trying to figure out like by myself, but for hardware wise, I see a lot of like tutorials and how to do small things. Like say you want to make like a rectangle in CAD, you can just look up on the forum maybe, or like even online and figure that out.
So like the FTC forum, would you say it's like a useful tool for like new members or like rookie members coming into Mechra?
Yeah, I think I think it would be it's an important thing to look into, so they can increase their skill levels.
Yeah, so like obviously like doing like kind of like working on tasks in the off season isn't like kind of as like kind of fun or like it doesn't have like a as big of like a kind of realness kind of as a actual competition. So do you guys ever do like kind of like mock like kind of like a mock competition or something like that where you try to like do like a past season's challenge?
No, I don't. In my experience on the team, we have not done that, but something that we have done is, again, RoboVote. That actually helped us get hard deadlines in and help practice setting up. So I know you guys were talking a bit about simulators and stuff like that. One of the things that actually was a real problem for RoboVote is our hardware took so long because there were so many different aspects that we had to do that Tom actually did a lot of the work on a simulator for programming it before we went to the competition, which made it so we could actually do that a lot more efficiently. But as for doing other challenges or previous season's challenges over the summer, we haven't really looked at that, no.
Yeah, also kind of in the same vein, every year it's like a lot, like it's kind of like a big leap in like FTC programming technology. Is like before it was like the switch, like a lot of teams using the odometry, and now a couple teams have started to use like the T265 camera. So like, do you guys kind of like look into like those type of like new technologies and try to like work on them in the off season and stuff?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we tried to implement odometry. It just didn't get done in time, and we never and because of like competitions and stuff, we weren't able to. Even last year, we didn't really have odometry until Worlds, and even then, we didn't really get to use it because it was just not as efficient actually as driving coders. And then we still haven't looked at the T265 camera, but on our rowboat, we had like a rip-off version of the T265. It's called the Mint stereo camera, and it's like the same thing. But we might look at implementing that because it works really well indoors rather than outdoors.
Yeah, so you guys were saying like you were using driving coders instead, and with odometry you weren't able to use it. So I know this year Sana, since he's a graduating senior, he had a couple of the rookie programmers or people who are trying to get into programming to use the odometry. So do you guys try and do something similar with rookie team members with programming and even with building? If there's something like that, you aren't going to be able to use it this season, but in like the next season you're able to use it, like with stacking or shooting. Like, do you have your rookie team members work on that so they're able to refine those skills when it comes to the next season?
Yeah, so like for example, even Tyler last year was trying to build a Mechromancers direction after the season was over. And like programming wise, we don't really use odometry, but we do teach them like the computer vision and like the framework of our code and how it's structured and stuff. So
Yeah. So kind of moving along to like the non-robot parts. You guys mentioned a little earlier about you guys doing a lot of outreach in the off season. Like, how do you guys like get these outreach activities, and what type of activities do you do?
Well, the only ones that I kind of know of are the two summer camps that we did, um, which were already set up through the school, and we were able to help teach and spread STEM through both of those summer camps. We had the youth camp that we held, which was for the little kids, and then we had the recruitment camp, which was for the students that were hopefully coming into the robotics program.
Just to add on Tyler's what Tyler said. In addition, for example, last year, we did a lot of like I mentioned before the interviews, like 11 different interviews with professionals. So we reached out to NASA employees, and then they reached out to people that they know that work at NASA. So that's how we like brought in our connections, and then like the UCF one, that one was through one of our friends' relatives, and so like a lot of the connections we make um, are we like video call them and try to ask them how to use their expertise to help us, and then other outreach activities we did were like obviously we went to like middle schools and then demoed there, and we went to a Cub Scout like Boy Scouts group and demoed there, and yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've done this year and we've started doing is actually reaching out to more middle schools that are restarting their STEM night or STEAM night programs. So we started reaching out to like Jackson Heights and a couple elementary schools and middle schools. And actually, one of the things that happened was last year we participated in UCF's STEM day, and they actually reached back out to us and said that they wanted to have us back and do that again this year. So that's something we're looking forward to. But yeah, a big thing is just going to like middle schools and elementary schools and lower levels of education where we can actually we can really get kids involved in FIRST and STEM early, so that way they'll be more likely to do it when they're older.
So yeah, you guys reach out to lower levels to communicate, especially with younger children who might be interested in STEM. Do you guys try and aspire to do something with like higher levels, like at local businesses or business fairs, to start like looking for professional mentors that might be able to help you? Especially, I know like when we went to Otronicon, we were able to get a lot of feedback from mentors or from professionals from like engineering, from business. So do you guys try and go to other events like that in order to like start developing professional mentor connections?
Somewhat. I'm going to also bring up Otronicon. Yeah, when we went to Otronicon, we also got a lot of feedback from professionals and got to do a lot more interacting. We haven't exactly looked at that too much, but one of the things is last year when we were talking to professionals, we had a whole bunch of outreach and talking to like NASA and reaching out to a whole bunch of different people, and we had talks with them. So it was really a way of them giving them mentoring and giving their knowledge of what they did in their professional career to us in high school, which would allow us to possibly go and do those same careers. So one of the things that we made sure to like ask them when we were interviewing them was, how do we get from high school students to being where you're at, and how do we go through those steps, and how did you get there? And it's really a process of we're trying to understand like how could we do that if we wanted to, and what process would we need to go through to apply what we're doing in FIRST and STEM and all this stuff into the real world.
Yeah, you guys mentioned earlier like having some outreach activities here at recruits for your team. How do you guys handle like off-season recruitment? Like, do you guys like actively like go out and like try to find people to join? Do you just like set up a form of like people who want to like can fill out the form. Like, how do you guys go about getting more people into your team?
Yeah, we have forms, we have flyers and stuff we post out at our school. We have basically anytime we have an outreach event, we always plug, hey, Haggerty Robotics, you can join. We have QR codes, we have business cards, and we really just when we talk to people, we try to make it seamless, and we try to make it so they're actually interested in what we're doing, and we're not just like talking to them. So it's more of a conversation than, oh yes, I'm going to present to you what our program is, which really makes it so people are actually interested, and they'll actually ask for business cards and QR codes, and hey, there's something we can scan. How would I get involved in this? But yeah, we do all sorts of stuff with that.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking on what Mo said earlier about the professional hunters. Obviously, one of the big parts of FTC is getting professional sponsors. So how do you guys kind of keep your sponsors like in the loop in the off season, and kind of reach out to more sponsors?
So like every year we send a letter at the beginning of the season, looking for more sponsors, looking for donations, and then every couple of meets or so we'll send a letter telling them how we're doing. Like right before Worlds, we sent the people that sponsor us a couple emails about how we're going to Worlds, and that's how we keep them in the loop. And then some of them also follow our social media accounts, so they can check through that.
Yeah, so yeah, here you can go, Mo.
Yeah, so far we've been really talking about the robot and programming side of the off season. What do you guys do business wise? Not just professional mentors, but going out there and like finding local businesses as well as other corporations that you guys can go present to, or like even discuss with about what you guys do in order to gain funds for the season. Like, how do you guys do that in the off season?
So I know last year when we were coming up to Worlds, what we did was we had a couple members that would go out to local businesses with flyers and just really talk to them, try to create a connection, and really try and get sponsors and more money because we needed to pay for Worlds. That was a big thing of what we did, and we also last year towards the end of the season, we also did a corporate presentation. I think Ratam can talk a bit more about that than I can.
Yeah. So we did a presentation at the Bank of New York Mellon, their software department, and it was over like 140 people. And so that presentation, we basically told them about like what we did. It was kind of like this, but we were the one presenting. And we were just telling them like what we did, all the outreach we do, all the hardware stuff we do, some like key algorithms we have. And so at the end of the presentation, one of the people were like, who do we contact to get to give you guys a sponsorship and stuff. So yeah, that was cool. So that was a big thing. And then in addition, one of our friends worked at this local boba tea shop, so we went up to them and then asked them for sponsorship. So yeah.
Yeah. One thing that we find that some of our sponsors kind of like aren't able to like stay connected with us throughout the off season. Like during the season, we're able to like give them updates on our progress and how we're doing in competition and stuff. But in the off season, it's hard to like maintain that relationship with your sponsor. So how do you guys make sure your sponsors like stays engaged with your team and stuff?
I think we briefly talked about this earlier, but a lot of things that we do is reaching back out every start of the season and end of the season before competitions. Really just emailing to the sponsors that we had, giving them progress checks on, hey, here's how our team did, here's how our team is comparing to other teams, and what we plan to do and improve. And it's really just trying to make sure that they know that we're still keeping up good work and we're still continuing to do what we do best.
Yeah. So kind of moving along. One big change that First has done recently is there's the like elimination of like the engineering notebook and in favor of the engineering portfolio. So how does your team like kind of worked on your engineering portfolio, like designs and stuff over the off season? Like, do you guys start filling it out before the season starts, or like?
So this past season, past 2 seasons, what we've done. So we also have a notebook and a portfolio. We make sure to have both. But this past season, what we did is like a couple weeks before leagues, we all just hopped on Canva. Almost every night we were working on our portfolio, and we had a specific design in mind. We wanted to look aesthetic, but we also wanted to give information out to the judges, be able to present the information. Um, and so basically we had that idea in mind, that design goal in mind. And so we split up the pages. Every couple people would take a page, and then we would just work on our selected pages, basically. And then for the notebook, we basically just have our entries written. We have a Google form where we just write our entries in, and then around leagues, we took all the entries, almost like 300 different entries, and then put them into we use LaTeX to format our notebook, so we just put it into our LaTeX. We have to do all the formatting, and then, that's how we made our notebook.
So especially with the notebook, what we do is we take previous year's notebooks and show it to the rookie members. Do you think like the past documentation, especially from past seasons, help broaden what they can like learn, as well as like when they're getting into the season, they have some idea what to expect? Do you guys?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, then.
I didn't have anything.
Oh, okay. So, so when I entered FTC my first year, what like our mentors would have us do is look at like previous year's notebooks from like when, say, 47171 went to Worlds. We would just look at how they wrote their notebook entries, and like we noticed like a lot of it was like storytelling and like being able to it's not very scientific, like a lot of data, a lot of results, and a lot of conclusions made. So a lot of our the way I learned how to write notebook entries were just looking at old notebooks we had, and then obviously you can go to the FTC forums and look at other notebooks that people have published in the past year. So. And I know our main notebook person last year. He would look through like the old notebooks and like how to make them, how to make your entries like appealing, and like the judges want to read that entry. So.
Yeah, definitely very important to do. Also, I know, especially on your team, you guys have very veteran mentors, especially Mrs. Poe. So do you guys have rookie members like go with those mentors and they start gaining information as well as info on what to expect, as well as like, okay, so you want to do this and this is how it works. Like, do you think like pairing them up with a veteran mentor is something that helps?
Yeah, that's a lot of what we've done in the past. It's I actually in my first time joining Haggerty Robotics, what I did was I went with one of our mentors, Mr. Don Harper. He's the head of the UCF Innovations Lab. He's been with our program for a very long time, and what he did was he just sat me down and taught me how to do CAD